We're already on episode 3 of our fun book club, Well Read, Well Said. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. We're live on Facebook right now. We're live on stream.
Is that new?
I think we're live on Facebook. Maybe we're not.
We'll find out.
We have a Facebook club, so if you want to join us, we're live on YouTube right now, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That is.
I did want to give a shout out to our Facebook club. I posted the other day that, we started this little book club. It's not little. We now have 1,600 members in our book club. So
isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So many people joining. Are they reading this book? Can you tell? Are they reading along?
Some are. Some have not gotten it yet.
Some are still on the last book.
Yeah, some are still on the last book and reading the second book.
Some DNF'd this book, which is okay.
Already they did?
Yeah.
Oh, we were going to talk about that. We have to address that.
Yeah. Another thing we have to address, Alexis is not here yet. She is on her way in.
She's a mother who had mother things with doctor's appointments and husbands not remembering the right place to go.
Yeah, so if she makes it here on time, she's going to hop in. So if that happens, we're letting you know now. Okay.
So she might just pop in.
She might pop in. I told her if she gets here and we're still doing this, just come on over and squeeze in. Yeah, because that's what you do in a book club. You just join and you start chatting.
Carry on.
Okay, before we get into everything, we have a trivia question that we share every episode. So today's trivia question, we're going to pop it up. Which 2 high-profile criminal cases were prominently covered by journalist and author Dominic Dunn?
Ooh, I know one of them.
You know one of them?
I know neither.
Okay.
So.
All righty. So think on that, and we'll get to the answer in about 15 minutes.
You really need to make these a multiple choice and make it easy on the people that don't know a lot of this stuff.
I mean, I think that one is kind of big. 2 high-profile criminal cases.
I feel like they could be anything, though.
But think of 2 high-profile ones, okay? Can you do that?
My brain goes blank as soon as she says that.
Well, criminal is not her thing.
No.
Okay.
But you are a news producer.
I am. Yeah. Is it in
It's in the realm
recent?
It's in the realm of stories that we have done and talked about in the last year.
Okay.
Dominic Dunn is an older guy who's been around for several decades. So it could be one of the cases could be several decades old, but it is fresh in the news right now, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
The one that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Got it?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we're moving on. We want to talk about some other book clubs, not just ours. And the person who was supposed to talk about it, Alexis,
is not here.
Doing mom things. But Alexis is in a book club, and so we want to show off her little book club that she's got.
They're called the Rainbow Readers, I think she was saying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it sounds like they get together like once a month and go to different places and do different events. I think that's at a wine festival or something.
Oh, that looks really cool. I wish she was here to talk a little bit more
they
about
all have
it.
different books in that.
Yeah.
They do. I'm wondering if that was during the holidays and they were doing a gift exchange.
We should
Do you know, is this the one, because I know she's in multiple, is this the one that is with the Toledo Library?
I think this is her neighborhood one,
okay.
not the Toledo Library one, but I'm not positive.
I think what kept me from being out of a book club for so long is I don't like to be told what to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we're all experiencing that a little bit right now.
Yes.
A little bit, but I won't share much of my thoughts. I am enjoying it, though. I think ours is a little bit different because
remind the people what the book
randomized.
is.
That's true. So we are reading John Krakauer's Under the Banner of Heaven. We'll give you a quick summary of it real quick too. It's a mix of nonfiction and true crime. And that's my opinion of it because I don't at this point think it's fully true crime yet. It's
I'm like, where is the crime?
Yeah, history.
They showed the crime a little bit right out at the beginning. And then I'm like, well, is that it? Then we go into a history lesson.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
A long history lesson.
For sure. I would say nonfiction first and then eventually maybe true crime. It explores extremism within the Mormon religion and talks about the dark side of it. The story takes us into the world of Mormon fundamentalism by exploring a brutal 1984 double murder committed by two brothers, Ron and Dan Lafferty. And they believed that they were commanded by God to kill their sister-in-law and her baby daughter, so their niece. It goes beyond the crime, sharing the history of the Mormon church and how people broke off from that church and then ended up adopting extreme beliefs around polygamy and prophecy. So real quick thoughts. Don't go too far into it.
Because we don't want to give spoilers.
We don't want to do that. But so when did you start it, and how are you feeling?
I started this last Wednesday or Thursday, and it is, I will say this, it's not in my wheelhouse and not my general cup of tea. Like when I think of reading for, pleasure, I do not think true crime. That's not where my brain goes right away. So I'm struggling a little bit to get into it, but I'm persevering for the book club.
Okay. How far are you, Melissa?
I am 16%, page 87. You said there's about 300 pages?
Yeah.
So chapter 5. I do love true crime, and I'm like, where's the true crime?
Yeah, that's how
Other
I feel.
than the murders right out the gate, then we just go into this
History lesson.
long history lesson. We were talking about DNF in this book if we weren't in the book club.
Yeah, if I weren't in the book club and doing this,
Which remind people what that means.
it means did not finish. I would have chucked this book in the garbage and I would have said, nope, on to bigger and better things.
But
Let me
here's the
see.
thing
Hold on.
about
Let
the
me see how
DNF.
far I am.
Here's the thing about DNF while you do that. Oh, you're about right where I am.
Chapter 6.
I'm on chapter 15.
Okay.
Oh,
you're pretty far.
wow.
I'm like 70 pages.
So
in.
the scary thing is she's on 15, we're on 5 and 6. So like, if
Yikes.
she doesn't like it,
It's not getting
I've
better.
given it a chance.
But the library recommended this. There were
Yeah.
so many people who really loved this book. There was a series starring Andrew Garfield, right? Was
Yeah.
it like a?
It's a TV
We'll talk about
series.
that
We'll
in a
talk
little
about that.
bit.
That's
Okay,
on Hulu.
so people like this book. I'm just struggling to find out what they
where
like
the
about
crime
the book.
is in the book.
Now, see, for me, sometimes I think these true crime books make better like TV series or mini series because you can
Yes.
cut out some of the fat, you can
Yes.
visually explain
The
things.
characters bring it alive.
Yes.
I just struggle to see how this is under the true crime genre. I just don't get it. Yes, there were
Yeah.
murders in it, but it's really, so far, chapter 5, not.
Well, I will
crime.
say
We can blame it on the wheel that did it for
I
us,
wanted the
'cause it was
Jack the Ripper
wheel.
book. I didn't want this book.
And she's not going to read
think
Jack
we
the Ripper
both
on
did,
her
but
own
you know
either.
what?
No,
We might-
I'm not.
We can. I would read it. I would read the Jack the Ripper.
My friend Emily did say when I mentioned that it was between this book or the Jack the Ripper book, she was like, I like Jack the Ripper. We may have to read this
I
on
like
our
Jack
own.
the Ripper.
Yeah.
That's scary. Lights
Do we have
flashing.
rules in this book club? Can we DNF this one and go get Jack the Ripper?
No.
No,
I wish.
the wheel spinner
The wheel spoke, so we got to do that. We do know if you want to read it, don't let our opinions
Yeah, maybe you like it.
sway you. If you do want the book, it's not too late to get started with us. We still have a handful of weeks before we get into our deep dive episode. This is just a check-in where we're talking about how far we are and kind of the thoughts so far. You can pick up a copy and start reading with us right now. Finch and Fern actually has a copy, and if you see like at the bottom of your
that's so
screen,
nice.
it says WTOL, well read, well said, book club selection.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. So we
So
want to give
she's-
them a shout out.
Katie, the owner, has a couple of copies of the book, and it's labeled
Well,
there
not
for
after
you
we
to find.
trashed it. Nobody's going to go get it.
but Megan, tell everyone what you had said. You had went in there, and she plans to do that for us.
So I went in there a couple weekends ago on Indie Bookstore Day. I introduced myself and said who I was and what our book club is, and she said that this book was already on her TBR, to be read list. And she said, I'm bumping it up and I'm moving it up my list to read. And she said, I'll order a couple of copies. And each book, just let me know what you guys pick and I'll put it in store. And that way you can support a locally owned
And this is in
bookstore.
Sylvania.
Yep, on Main Street, I believe, is where it is.
I've been in there. Yeah, that's really nice to have that. And that's so sweet for Katie. Katie, her name is. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, thank you,
So we're
Katie.
excited. Thank you.
Okay, time for a break. Let's go to the trivia question real quick. It is, which two high-profile criminal cases were prominently covered by journalist and author Dominic Dunn? Okay, think on that. We'll be right back. Okay, now let's get into our chapter check-in part of this book, where we talk just on our thoughts so far and how far we've gotten into the book. I know all three of us, and Alexis, she's not here right now, but
She's been reading with us too.
we've all talked about how it's heavy on the history and not so much on the murders that happened.
I will say I'm learning a lot because I didn't know a lot about the Mormon faith and the history behind it, so I am learning a lot. And it is very interesting, their belief systems, what they preach and practice, and how they explain things with the prophets and different subject matter, which I find interesting.
Did you know much about the FLDS or Mormon religion at all before reading this?
The only thing that I kind of knew was like the TLC show Sister Wives,
Okay.
which doesn't go into like history and why they practice.
I have a good friend who actually used to work here at WTOL, and she's from Utah, Mormon, went to Brigham Young, and I used to ask her a lot about Mormonism because I think for us in this part of the country, you don't really come across anyone who's Mormon. And I asked her about the polygamy and everything, and she explained 10 years ago that it's this fundamentalist sect that does that, the polygamy stuff. So, and that's very well explained here in this book, that there's Mormons and then there's the fundamentalist Mormons who are the ones who are taking the young girls as wives.
And they really, Mormons do not identify with the FLDS, the fundamentalists. They do not want to be considered part of that at all because of how they broke off all those years ago. For me, I think what's really interesting is learning the history of the FLDS and kind of how it started, and Joseph Smith, the prophet who wrote the Book of Mormon. Because I grew up in Las Vegas, and there's a heavy Mormon population in Vegas.
Probably.
We're only 2 hours from big parts of Utah. There's, we're not far from Salt Lake. We're not far from Cedar, Dixie. And then there's also Arizona and Idaho. So I grew up in an area that's heavy on Mormon religion and have a lot of friends. So I learned a lot about.
Doesn't this say
Mormon
this is like
church.
the fastest growing?
It is, the fastest growing.
The LDS, not the FLDS.
The LDS, the LDS church. So, and Provo, Utah is where a lot of, one of the biggest populations, I think, of Mormons. So it's really interesting. I thought one of the things that I read in here was that the fundamental Mormons broke off because of all of the, trials and media surrounding the polygamy and stuff, but they believe they're the one true Mormon religion, and all of the mainstream Mormons are the apostates, which are the people who are sinners, basically. So it's interesting just to see the way that they believe what Joseph Smith wrote.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it is.
Learning about some of this stuff when you
and
don't.
The book also talks about the kidnapping of Elizabeth Smart, which that is true crime. That was, I think, in 2002.
That
Yeah.
was one of the most interesting chapters that I've read so
Yeah,
far,
I
because
zoomed
I
through that one.
remember seeing it on TV and
Yeah.
the news, but I didn't remember all of the fundamentalist Mormon stuff involved
Right.
in the case.
It was
so
just
that
about
kind
this
of brought
missing
it back.
girl from her bedroom, really.
Right.
Yeah, and I know one of the questions that for sure for me, but I think for all of you guys as well, was like, how do they fund this lifestyle when they've completely separated themselves from civilization? And we did find that they rely on the government.
Yeah. The
For
welfare
that, which
system.
was really shocking. I had called my mom yesterday. I was like, "Did you know this?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, I knew this. There's been stories in Las Vegas about that because, as you mentioned, Sister Wives was filmed in Vegas because they got kicked out of Utah."
So basically, the idea is, again, in the FLDS, is that you can legally marry one woman, and then the rest of the women claim they are single mothers, and that's how they collect the government assistance.
Yeah, there was one example
And to the tune of like tens of millions of dollars.
One of the exambles that I had was that one family took in almost
Look
$1
at you
million.
and your tabs.
I know, I did colorful tab. I was
proud of
channeling my
you. Do the
Do the
Megan.
colors mean something?
Yeah, orange is money. I should have done green, but I didn't. Orange is money. Blue is the men and their wives. And then I don't remember what yellow is. But so this Tom Green received more than $647,000 in state and federal assistance in just 1 year, $203,000 in food stamps, nearly $300,000 in medical and dental expenses. That just was like, whoa. And that was in 1989.
Imagine what it's like today with inflation and everything else going on.
Part of me, I also thought, we issued that warning last week for the It Ends With Us book. I felt like we could have done it this week because, these girls, they want to run away, or they don't agree with this lifestyle, or, they could do any little thing wrong, and then they get sent to marry this 65-year-old man.
And they're 14.
And they're 14. So I think that's, you could certainly slap a warning on this too.
Yeah.
There's one thing Alexis had talked to us about, and she did a little bit of research on it as well, was the population and the birth rates in Utah is really high, partly because of this one man taking 6, 10, 20, however many wives.
And because of the belief that like their purpose on earth is to have as many kids as they potentially can. So then one man with all of his plural wives are having 30 to 40
and then
kids.
you could be someone's stepmom, and they could be your daughter. Like
Yeah.
that
The
part
family
really
trees
One
are
story
very
that
interesting.
threw me off was the mom who was married to someone, then he died, she was married off to someone else, and then her daughter was like, "God's calling me to marry your husband." And she was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
I was like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Crazy, but that's normal. And it's in the book, it says that incest is common
Yeah.
in the fundamental
Stepdads
Mormon
are
sect.
marrying stepdaughters.
Yeah, yeah. I have the chapter that Alexis had pulled up, and it says Utah County has the highest birth rate in the United States. Granted, this is also in 2003, I think the book was written, so I would need to
That's
kind of.
insane, though. Because you have like New York City and Los Angeles and
Bigger cities across the country.
Yeah, and so it says it's higher than the birth rate in Bangladesh. It also happens to be the most Republican county. not only because of Mormon, but fundamentalist as well. Salem also has a high population rate. It's just, it's very
Mind-boggling.
interesting.
There we go. Very interesting after we trash the book.
I mean, I think,
I did say I'm learning a lot.
I think it's interesting, the facts and the information, but I think it's a lot of information thrown at me.
Well, I
and
think just to be clear, if this same book would have been chosen under a different genre, like, you know, I always get confused between
like nonfiction.
nonfiction. So if it would have been a nonfiction book, we would have been fine with it.
Yeah, because I
Just
think
that we
going
were
into
expecting
it-
lots of murder.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten to that. I'm
I
sure we will
say
get to it.
In the beginning, it talks about like the murder, and then now that
Moves
I'm
into
further into the book, it goes back to the two brothers and starts getting back into them and their wives and how they broke off and became, you know, the fundamentalists and things. So it's getting back to that. It's just taken a long time to get there.
And I do think reading it now, you have to have the history.
Yeah.
I think it would have made it a harder read if we went straight into the crime and then backtracked to the history and then back to the crime again and then back into the history to explain why things were done and
And
why
she
they
probably gave
believe
us the
that.
murders right off the bat because it was like, you know, I don't know how I'm going to get people interested in this book if I just give them this long
Well,
history
this author
lesson.
has written quite a few other books. I was telling my mom, you know, which book we picked, and she goes, I don't think you're going to like this book at all. And I'm like, no, I'm not really, but I'm doing it.
There's
I'm reading
Alexis.
it.
She's coming.
Oh, Alexis
And
just walked
she goes,
in.
he's written The Simple Wild, he's written this, he's written that. And I go, yeah, he's written a lot of different books and all on interesting topics. This one is just a little bit, we get in the weeds with the history a little, I think.
I mean, you said yesterday you were 100 pages in and it was barely talking about the crime itself.
And now I switched to listening to it, and
We're gonna bring in Alexis.
back into the crime.
Come on in.
There she is.
I'm here.
Alexis,
here.
thanks.
I was listening to you guys on my phone while I was coming in.
Are
Hello.
we making good points?
Yes. I like literally ran through the parking lot. Where were you right now? You're
We're
talking
talking
about
about
the population?
Population, the part you researched.
Because it's crazy. It was like, I was like a moment, like when I
Yeah.
started reading
Right.
this. Like, one, we get polygamy, multiple wives, multiple children, lots of babies. Babies are expensive, but like you were saying, you have one legal wife, one 12, 14
Single wives.
moms who are just ranking in the money. That
And each of them
Yeah,
have
she got
five,
mad too when she found
5
that out.
plus.
She says she got mad.
Oh,
I
really?
was just
Bringing
like,
in money.
whoa, that is,
Because
Government.
we were paying for that.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
for sure.
I would say more power. Believe what you want to believe. They are very strong in their, obviously very strong in their beliefs. No one's going to convince them otherwise, but that's kind of
we
taking
don't want them
advantage.
to believe what they believe when they're
Not
underage
that.
girls.
Not that. We don't want that.
No.
But
Yeah, that was really shocking.
they're
There's
all
a lot
very
of underage.
anti-government too.
Yes.
Especially I'm like chapter 15, 16, which is getting more
So
interesting.
they're really
Yeah.
going
Yeah, they're
at
farther
it.
than us. We're
It's
slacking.
starting to get more interesting to me there because, like you
They're
said, where's
diving
the
into the
true
family.
crime? You're getting into the Lafferty family now. And the whole thing was, I think the author, we need to understand Mormonism, their beliefs, where it came from, to understand the prophet that the Lafferty family followed because he was way out there in his beliefs and very strong in his beliefs, and that's what the Lafferty family followed.
We have to really say fundamentalist.
Fundamentalist.
Because I know there's
Fundamentalist.
Mormon people who are wonderful. Like I said, I
yes.
said that we
Yes,
had one who worked
yes.
here.
She's amazing.
Amazing person.
We do have people that are reading it on
Yeah.
Facebook. So we have Emma. She said this is one of her favorite books and authors.
I'm
So
glad
we
that you
can't-
enjoyed it.
Yeah, we can't
That gives us
discount
hope,
it.
Emma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have Rochelle who said she hasn't finished It Ends With Us yet, but she did put this one on hold. So
Yay that
she
you're
should be
using the
starting it.
library.
Yeah, somewhat soon. We have,
Maybe we will close the back end of this book and say, wow, we're really glad that we read this book.
Yeah.
We also have Heather. This is our assignment desk manager. Hey, Heather. She said she read this after watching the Hulu series that has Andrew Garfield. She enjoyed both, but she said Garfield was
I
excellent.
am really, I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah,
I have
will
some
watch
time
that.
off this week, and I'm going to
Finish the book?
Finish the book and start watching the miniseries. Yeah.
So that brings us to, there is a mini series. It's on Hulu. Do we have a clip of this? Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, this is the trailer of
So
it.
he's the detective. So it's the people looking into the
Oh.
So it's because I read the thing on it yesterday.
Okay, so it takes the look from the
Yeah,
detective.
he's like the detective investigating it, I believe.
Okay.
So interviewing the families. So kind of like our author that we're reading, he would be like his perspective. He's doing the research and trying
I feel
to
like
figure
it's got a lot of really well-known people that are
Yeah,
starring in
Daisy Edgar Jones. She's
movies
pretty
now.
Maybe we should have watched this first.
Maybe No, I gotta read the book.
Read the
Books
book
are generally
first.
better, but I don't know.
Maybe this might change our minds.
Okay, so
All right.
that's a look at the trailer. If maybe you want to read the book and then go to the series, maybe you want to flip-flop it, you could do that too.
Yeah.
And again, I think that if we were in the mindset of reading a history book, we would have
Would
no
be great,
problem
yeah.
with this.
Yeah.
But we were just, you know,
just came
it was
off of the
between
end
this
of
and
the-
Jack the Ripper.
I do have a feeling that our thoughts will change by the time we have our
Yes, when we
next
close the
episode.
book.
Yep.
Yep.
Hopefully.
The whole thing.
Maybe
Okay.
they won't. Maybe they will.
You're right. Okay, we have to go to a break. Can I get that trivia? Perfect. So which two high-profile criminal cases were
Alexis,
prominently
do you know
covered
this?
by journalist and author Dominic Dunn?
I know one of them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, when we come back, we have the answer, okay? Okay, we are back and we are going to have the answer to the trivia question. Tim, don't pull it up just yet. So the question is, which two high-profile criminal cases were prominently covered by Dominic Dunn? Okay.
And you said
what are
it's
your
a
guys'
case that's
I'm
been
gonna
in the
say
news in the last year. or so.
Menendez and OJ.
Okay. Is that what you're saying?
I'm gonna say OJ and John Bonet.
Okay.
Oh, OJ was the one that I had going into the second block. The case that I've been thinking of and running in my show is the Idaho University students' murders.
Oh, okay.
Probably not it.
So
but
Melissa was right.
You gotta trust the true crime girl, Megan.
and Menendez
Okay.
brothers. So those are the two high-profile ones that.
I think he's actually featured. They bring him up heavily in the Menendez show on Netflix, I believe.
Oh, wow.
maybe that's another one that I need to watch. while I
Oh,
have
that
time
one's
off.
very dark, Megan. Let's get there.
Okay.
Very dark.
Okay, we're gonna,
If I say
get to
it's
lighter
dark.
things.
Okay.
We're gonna get to lighter things. I have a game segment for us. I'm calling this one "Booked or Cooked." So,
I love that.
So it's booked, either it's real and
Okay.
it happened, or cooked, we
And
cooked it up. It's made up. Okay.
Ooh, this is
Okay.
good.
You got it. Okay. So the first one is. A charming medical student in the early 1900s Chicago builds a hotel full of secret passageways and trapdoors designed to kill guests during the World's Fair.
Booked.
I'm going to say that's cooked.
Okay.
What do you think?
A book.
If it's
Booked?
not a book, I want it to be a book.
It is booked. It is by H.H. Holmes, featured in The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson.
Send that to me. That sounds
Okay.
good.
Okay. The next one, we only have two more. We're only doing three. So, a reclusive writer is accused of orchestrating the murder of his wife to gain inspiration for his next best-selling novel.
I also think that was cooked. It sounds like it would be a very interesting book to read.
I
though.
agree.
Yeah.
I think
Book. I'm saying book.
Booked. You're saying booked. Do you think it's real, or you think it's?
I think it's
cooked?
real.
Okay. What are you saying?
I kind of feel like it could be cooked because it's so obvious, but it should be booked.
Okay, it's cooked, so it's cooked up. This is from The Ghost Rider by Alessandra Torre. It's a fiction book.
Okay.
Okay,
I thought you said it was cooked.
Yeah, cooked up. They
Cooked up by the writer.
They wrote it up.
Book is a real true
Booked
crime
is like we booked the criminal.
Oh, I thought this was like ChatGPT just making up potential books. So in either way, they're books.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The last one, a wealthy Southern antiques dealer is tried multiple times for the same murder in Savannah, Georgia, and the eccentric local scene becomes central to the
I
story.
feel like that could actually be real, so I'm going to say booked this time.
Cooked.
Cooked.
It's booked.
We're bad at this.
Alexis and Melissa switched it
I
up.
started off being wrong, and
Yeah.
I've won it back.
Yeah, so you guys did. You did pretty good. I felt good about that, booked or cooked.
Yeah,
so
that was
I
an
like that
interesting
one.
segment.
I have the list of those three, so I can.
Ooh, put them on the Facebook page. Yeah, I would read some of that.
You would?
The first one.
The first one sounds
The first one
really
really
interesting.
does the trapdoors and passageways to kill people. So, ooh, that's interesting. All right, that's it for our episode. So our next episode is going to be our breakdown episode. It's on May 27th. You can stream it right here on WTOL 11 Plus, also on YouTube, and we'll post the link on our Facebook group. If you're wanting to join our Facebook group,
Please
our
do.
book club, yeah, we got 1,600 members. Join us on Well Read, Well Said on Facebook, WTOL 11 Book Club. In this last episode, it's going to be the May 27th one. We'll give you our full thoughts. Hopefully they change. Maybe they won't. We don't know. So
Yeah, we look forward to it.
thanks, Alexis, for joining us.
Sorry, I won't be late next time.
We appreciate your limited thoughts.
Participation.
I was listening. I'm sorry.
I trashed your husband on the show for
Thank
you.
you. I'll let him know.
getting more
I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
Tell him to watch.
Yeah, he does. He does. Good. Maybe not after today.
He'll get a shout out. We don't know. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll be back at the end of this month. Bye.